Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to today's explainer, where we're going to decode a completely fascinating and honestly totally misunderstood astrological profile, Ketu in the third house. We call this the profile of the silent pathmaker. If you've ever felt like you just operate on a completely different frequency than the rest of the world, or, if people are constantly telling you you're too quiet or detached, well, you're going to want to pay close attention to this breakdown. We are going to unpack the real data behind this placement.
So why do some people absolutely thrive in silence? Have you ever felt totally misunderstood simply because you actively avoid the spotlight? Like, while everyone else is shouting at the top of their lungs just to be heard, maybe you find your absolute greatest strength in the quiet moments. In a modern world that's literally obsessed with noise, constant updates, and loud personalities, being a silent pathmaker can kind of feel isolating. But as you'll see throughout this explainer, this silence isn't a weakness. It is actually a massive strategic advantage.
Section 1. Meet the silent pathmaker. Let's completely reframe how we look at this unique psychological and astrological blueprint.
Okay, so here's our core definition to really ground our understanding. Ketu in the third house is all about having a fiercely independent mindset. It's an astrological placement for someone who inherently prefers carving their own path rather than just, blindly following trends or giving into peer pressure. They simply do not follow the crowd. When everyone else goes left, they don't even bother going right. They literally build an entirely new road. It's a fundamental rewiring of how they approach every choice in life.
So, the absolutely crucial point here is that this fierce independence stems directly from being naturally detached from seeking attention. People with this placement, they can accomplish these amazing, world-shifting things completely quietly. They don't need the applause, the trophies, or that external validation that drives so many other people's ambitions. They are self-motivated to their absolute core. They do the work for the sake of the work itself, not for a pat on the back at the finish line.
Moving right along to Section 2, the unconventional communicator. Let's explore exactly how this individual processes and shares information with the world.
And this list right here brilliantly illustrates what that unconventional style looks like in practical day-to-day life. First off, they are a selective communicator who absolutely despises small talk. The weather, your weekend plans, it literally drains them. They speak only when they feel it's genuinely necessary to convey a point. It's a highly efficient, minimalist communication style. And frankly, they have a known tendency to just leave a conversation completely unfinished the exact second their interest fades. They don't waste words, and they definitely don't waste their energy on empty chatter.
Which brings us to a really fascinating contrast between what society values, like social media validation, follower counts, public recognition, and what the silent pathmaker values, which is personal freedom, detachment, and self-direction. They are completely detached from the whole social media hype machine. Why? Because protecting their independence and preserving their peace of mind is infinitely more valuable to them than a million likes from total strangers.
All right, Section 3, Relationships and Social Withdrawal. Let's take a look at their inner circle and those sudden urges for solitude.
Let's see how this detached energy builds across different areas of their personal life. When it comes to siblings, there's often a pretty unusual dynamic. You'll see emotional distance, specific karmic lessons, maybe physical separation, or just a lingering feeling of operating on totally different wavelengths. And that sense of detachment totally mirrors their broader social life. They experience these periods of sudden social withdrawal. Out of nowhere, they'll abruptly lose all interest in socializing, networking, or staying in touch with acquaintances. And it's so important to understand that this isn't malicious at all. It's just their internal battery requiring a quiet, hard reset.
Let's shift gears to Section 4, Hidden Gifts and Intuition. Honestly, this is where the real magic of the silent pathmaker happens. Because they possess such an unconventional learning style, where traditional education often feels super restrictive to them, they absolutely thrive on self-learning. By skipping those rigid traditional pathways, their natural genius just flourishes. They rely heavily on a deeply strong intuition in their decision-making. They will trust their instinct over standard logic any day of the week. This depth pulls them toward an interest in occult knowledge, hidden information, and spiritual practices. And the coolest part? Because they follow that gut feeling, hidden talents emerge naturally without any formal training whatsoever. We see this surface all the time in fields like writing, tech, deep research, or really intense creative pursuits. Now, what's really interesting here is how all of this intuitive independence culminates in a nothing-to-lose attitude. Think about it.
Because they aren't tied to external validation and it really don't care about conventional rules, they become totally fearless in unexpected situations. During a sudden crisis, when literally everyone else is panicking and scrambling for a leader, the individual with Ketu in the third house taps into a unique psychological power. They possess this calm detachment that allows them to navigate absolute chaos with unwavering clarity.
Section 5. Mastering the shadow. Because, every placement has its challenges, so how does this Pathmaker grow over a lifetime?
Let's walk right through this transformation. If left unmanaged, the shadow side of this placement can manifest as deep isolation, major communication gaps with loved ones, sibling misunderstandings, and a really bad habit of abandoning projects midway just because they got bored. That is the struggle. But the higher expression transforms this entirely. When they actually master this energy, they develop courage without ego, a razor-sharp intuitive intelligence, a deeply spiritualized way of communicating, and an effortless mastery of their chosen skills. It's a powerful journey from feeling disconnected to achieving a state of real, egoless brilliance.
So how exactly do they reach that higher expression? By directing their effort toward meaningful purpose rather than competition. This right here is the ultimate key to unlocking success for this placement. They are simply not meant to compete in the traditional rat race. If they try to out-hustle someone just for a promotion, they're going to burn out fast. But when they focus their laser-sharp effort toward a purpose that holds deep internal resonance for them, rather than just trying to beat the guy next to them, they become undeniably unstoppable. Which brings us to our final question for you to ponder today as we wrap things up. How will you use your silence to carve a new path? If you resonate with the profile of the silent Pathmaker, it's really worth considering that your detachment, your quiet intuition, and your fierce independence, they aren't flaws. They are literally your greatest assets. Embrace your unconventional nature, step boldly into your higher expression, and just let your quiet mastery speak for itself. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope it brought you some clarity today, and I'll see you next time.